Welcome back, Black Cajun Sports Talk. And it is absolutely a wonderful day for us here because I have one of my best friends in this basketball thing and one of the all-time great college basketball players and the former number one pick in the NBA draft and a former multiple-time All-American, all that stuff. Had a nice, long career in the NBA. But today we're here to talk about youth development and an organization and a vehicle that he has established to try to carry on the work that he's been doing for the past 10 years or so through the Scholastic venue. This time he's going to come through the grassroots venue. Please welcome my good friend, Pervis Ellison. How you doing, Pervis?
I'm great, Bill. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, first, I feel like, given the times that we're living in, I need to ask you, man, is everybody good? I follow your kids a little bit on social media, so I know that they're all fine. Is everybody else in your family, in your circle, close to you? Is everybody okay?
Yes, thank God everybody's okay. But obviously, like you said, these moments and times, it's tough for everybody. So obviously, you're concerned about your family, but this thing is more about humanity, and it's just, you know what I mean, because it can affect you at any time.
Don't matter who.
So it's about helping.
What kind of medical care
Exactly.
you got, what kind of setup you got, it can reach the president.
So it's about helping your fellow man. That's why all together, we can beat this and fight this. That's why it's so important for everybody to wear masks. It's not just necessarily for yourself, but obviously, for someone else. So it is definitely important. I'm glad you actually said that as well, and I'm saying it to you. I hope your family as well. But again, this is a humanity thing, and we all have to take this seriously and do our part.
My family is well. Everybody is fine. Yesterday, I lost a friend of mine to COVID. And what makes it especially tragic is on Monday, his mother died from COVID.
Oh, my goodness.
So you got Monday and Thursday, mother, son. And, I grew up with this he's probably, Jeff Arnold and I, we from Darby Township. So he was one of our young guys that just followed us around while we was playing and stuff. So I know his sister, his mother, his uncles, and all of them. I mean, to lose two family members in the span of 4 days is incredibly horrific. So I'm just glad that you are all right, and everybody that's still here is doing everything that they can to try to make it better. But I do want to emphasize and reiterate what you're saying. We got to really take this thing seriously, man. It's not over. And it's still right as soon as you walk outside your door. It's right there, man. So
it's right there.
All right, before we get into your new venture, I'd like to give the people some background onto, the man that I know. And that's, I met Pervis and we became really good friends after all the basketball playing stuff was said and done. And that is the man that I truly, truly value and treasure as a friend, and think that you have done, I think, a really underappreciated job in trying to steer young men in the right direction. Now, I've been fortunate enough to have a relationship with you and Pastor Dave and the rest of the people over at Life Center, so I got to really watch it up close. And I actually sent a couple kids over there to you guys. So I know what you were dealing with when they came in, and then I actually, because I got to know the kids, I got to follow them through college, stay in touch with them, and then they would let me know that they graduated and what they're doing. Some of them are playing pro ball. Let's talk about that a little bit. We got Malik, we got Trayvon, we got Dion, we got Tracy, we got your son. I mean, we got a whole host of kids, and I just think that that little building on what Wilson had built, and then your run at Life Center. I think it's really underappreciated in terms of the impact that you guys had in the region scholastically. Talk about what that mission was and how you guys accomplished that at Life Center.
Well, I think first thing, obviously, everything was through Christ. And I think Pastor Dave influence on the young men that you talked about that we brought into the program. I think, that influence is carrying on now. You got guys, when you talk about guys that, came from impoverished situations or difficult situations that not only went to college or may have been the first generation of their family to go to college, but also graduated.
Yes.
That's the key. These kids came out of school with a certificate. They got that paper.
Not only that, man, let's paint a picture that's more realistic. I don't want to give out names, but I know of instances, and one of our good friends passed away, from Mississippi, Omar, but he would call on occasion and just say, Dell, I got a young fella and he's a good player, he's a good kid, but at his house, the police keep coming in, there's no food, his brothers is involved in this and that. And those kids, and maybe kids from Alabama, who come from rough circumstances, would end up in Burlington, New Jersey, kind of isolated in a little house on the side of the road. And they went to church, every Wednesday, Sunday, you had to take your mind to church. And I really got to see what you guys were doing, but I don't want to understate the dire circumstances that guys were typically facing when they came to you guys. And like you said, those same guys, Malik Hines went to graduate school. Mm-hmm. Tracy Carter went to graduate school. Your son went to graduate school. So they got the bachelor's degree and went beyond that, man. So you must be really proud about what you were able to accomplish over there.
Actually, extremely proud. But I think, like I stated earlier, you have to start with the gentleman that, was behind the scenes with the program, and that is Pastor Dave. And Pastor Dave, he accepted these kids into his home, as a pastor, as a follower of Christ. He preached that message, he lived that message. And I think you see the results with these guys. I think, and they're going to continue that. That's the beauty of all
this.
He's
getting it back together over there. I like what Coach Keefe is doing, man.
Yes. They actually are starting back and getting the program started again, because there is need. There's always need, for kids that are in that situation. To have that outlet, to have that ability to, fulfill their dreams and have that guidance and that calming influence. A lot of times, it's your household. If there's no structure in your household, it's extremely difficult for a kid to be successful, in the classroom. And that's the environment that Pastor Dave strived for, that I strive for, and that's the atmosphere that we created at Life Center.
Well, for people that don't know you, I really want to emphasize the aspect of what you bring to the table that I really admire. I got to know all of your kids. I've had Seattle in a room in Camden for hours and hours and hours getting ready before she went off to Howard. She got her thing in her hand, right? She's done.
Exactly.
Going on with her life. Your daughter, we watched her go. She had some physical setbacks, but she sailed through the University of Maryland, and she got some graduate credits as well, didn't she?
Correct, at Texas A&M.
And then Malik sailed through school, and he got some graduate credits. So I got to see you as a father dealing with recruitment, dealing with eligibility, dealing with all that stuff. I've also seen you as a high school coach, taking kids that really were in some precarious situations and holding their hand so they could go on. And almost everybody that we've mentioned so far, Perv, is now a college graduate and out here being constructive, productive members of society. And so I say all that to say, for all of you who remember Pervis from the Final Four and the NBA and all of that, that's not what we're here to talk about today. What Pervis has decided to do is to carry on and continue this mission, but now you're going to do it through a grassroots vehicle. Tell us about New Jersey Scholars. What is it, and what are you guys trying to accomplish?
Well, obviously, this will be our first year on the EYBL circuit. We are a Nike EYBL organization, which means that we have a 9th grade, 10th grade, and a junior team that will participate in EYBL.
Let's
circuit,
translate that for people that don't know. That's 15 and under, 16 and under, 17 and under on
Correct.
the EYBL.
On the EYBL circuit.
Playing to go to Peach Jam.
That's the goal, to make it to Peach Jam.
There you go. All right.
So, so we are the New Jersey-based ball club, but we obviously, because of the connecting states, Pennsylvania as well as New York, Delaware, we have that option of having kids come from those particular states.
Explain that rule. You said connecting states. So if I'm balling out in Chester or Scranton or Harrisburg, and I really like what you guys are doing, I can come play for you?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's basically if the state touches your state, you have that option. You also have the option of 3 out-of-state players. Mm-hmm. So you can have kids that are out of state, but obviously they would have to have some type of tie to the state. Let's say like a kid may come into Philadelphia and go to, but the kid's from DC.
Got it.
So because of the school ties, we are able to take a kid like that.
So for New Jersey, we talking about Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania. Is that
correct?
Any others connect with New Jersey? Nobody else connects with New Jersey.
That's right? That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. So
geographically, where are you situated in the state? North, Central, South Jersey?
Well, the good thing about us is we have satellite facilities. So we have a facility in North New Jersey. We have a facility in South Jersey, and we're in the process now of getting a facility in the Philadelphia area. So we want to be able to, have satellite gyms to provide the opportunity for kids to, get workouts. We're also going to have because we're going to have kids that go to schools in different areas. It's not just about the basketball. You have to have that whole component, that academic component.
Well, you guys put it in the name. Was that intentional? I mean, you really want to set the tone?
That was intentional. That's our focus. Obviously, the conversation we talked about our graduates. So it's not just a talk. It's the goal. It's the objective. And if you keep instilling that into the kid, then the next thing you know, it happens. And I think that has to be the conversation piece, because not everybody's going to the NBA. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's playing professional basketball.
Even really good players will not make the NBA.
Correct. And so that's why we chose the name New Jersey Scholars, because that's what we wanted to be about. That's what we're about. And that's our main focus. Now, obviously, basketball is the vehicle for them having that opportunity. So we have to make sure that we provide, that opportunity on the basketball court so they can flourish. So in doing that, my background, I've been through it. One of my messages to the kids is that, listen, I'm pretty sure all of you want to be a McDonald's All-American at the high school level. Well, they want to play in that McDonald's game. So I tell them, well, I did that. I participated in that McDonald's game. Mm-hmm. Then I also tell the kids, I said, I know all of you want to go to college. And what you go in college to win that national championship. Mm-hmm. Well, I did that. Mm-hmm. Not only did I do that, but I was MVP in the game. So I relay that message. And then the last part of the message is all of these kids want that opportunity to get drafted and play in the NBA. So I relay that message that I was the number 1 pick in the NBA. I had a long career in the NBA. So I try to, make sure they understand I've been down that road they're traveling. and I want to give them all the advice and mentor them so that they, know the landmines and be able to understand that no matter what, the most important thing is to get that degree. It's just like the conversation we're having now, telling everybody the most important thing. You want to have a voice? Vote.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a voice? Go to college, graduate from college. That's part of the process. So that's going to be our message, and we think that's the winning formula for the youth.
I really want to get across to the people who might be listening or viewing the extent to which I, for lack of a better word, just flat out trust what you do with young people because I seen it so close. I walked in a gym, had to be 5 years ago. I just came down to visit you and you had a skinny kid and he was left-handed and you were like, Dale, he gonna be the one. He gonna do this. He gonna do that. And I'm looking, I'm like, Perv, you see something I don't really see right now. But it's stuck in my mind. So, if he's your kid, he becomes my kid. So I'm following. And that kid's a freshman at Kentucky today, this has happened over and over and over again. And I think one of the things that it has allowed you to be so successful in doing that is the ability to which you've been able to instill a sense of loyalty in the families and the kids. Like, I don't recall a bunch of kids leaving Life Center. I don't recall a bunch of kids, thinking it's somewhere else is better. Even when Lance left, the program had kind of ended, but you were right there every game, every workout, every practice, following and staying attached to his development. Fast forward a couple years, Perv, it's not kind of like a new era. Our best 8th grader or rising 9th grader in Philly, he's playing in Memphis right now. He left town. Our 2 best 10th graders have left. They're now 11th graders. They're playing in Florida. The best kid from Central Pennsylvania has left, and he's playing out with LeBron and them in California. So we're in a new era, man. Are you confident that your message, because I know how you bring it, Perv, you pretty kind of straightforward and down to earth. You got a lot of that Savannah in you that you can't shake. So
down home country boy. That's right.
Is it gonna translate? Are the kids gonna be able to take it like you've been giving it for the past 15, 20 years?
Well, I would say this, Dale. I think first let me start by acknowledging you. I think a lot of your listeners out there, your followers, I want them to understand that all these kids that Dale and I have talked about that have gone on to graduate, that have gone on, that are doing great things, Dale had a hand in that as well, because all of these kids, Dale tutored. I brought these kids all these kids I brought to Dale. So, we want to thank you. I know Pastor Dave loves you. I love you for the things that you do academically, helping these kids. And I just want your listeners to know that. But I think the message is going to be clear. I think, from a basketball perspective, all these kids, they've got that dream. They got that dream of playing in the league. And I think if you keep the message honest to the kids and you show them, what it takes to be successful in the NBA through hard work, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be discipline. I tell guys all the time, Steph Curry didn't wake up shooting a basketball like that. That's hours upon hours upon hours of work. And I think, the youth today, they're definitely extremely talented. I'm a guy, and I will tell you that the league now, there are more talented players than when I played. And that's because, these kids are getting trained at a young age. These kids are doing different things at a young age. So their talent level, they're achieving success a lot earlier. So with success, you have to be smart about what you're doing. And I think, you know, the good part about what we're doing as an organization is we want to bring an entire wellness to the kid, like I said before, and you know, we want to be able to help that family, you know, help that family understand what it's going to take for this kid to be successful. You know, there's nothing wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong with kids leaving the state to
Mhm.
go someplace else
How
and
many high
pursue.
schools did you go to, Per?
I only went to one.
How
I
many
only went to one
colleges
high
did you
school.
go to, Per?
I only went to one.
How many years did you play in college, Per?
I played four.
You a dinosaur, man. They don't make you no
That
more.
that's true. That's true. That's true. But LeBron did not play college basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at the things that he's doing. And I'm not just talking about basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his activism, you know, he's a tremendous role model for our young people.
So when you look at the landscape and you say, you know, okay, I'm not going to do it scholastically anymore, but I want to continue more or less, Purvis. It's almost like a mission or a ministry that you've gotten and you just needed a vehicle. Why the EYBL? Why not independently or Under Armour or Adidas? You know, I know the perception is that the EYBL is kind of head and shoulders above the others. Is that the case? Is it you just wanted to be at what is perceived as the highest level? And do you agree that the level of competition and the athletes and stuff at the EYBL is head and shoulders above the others?
Well, I think there's no question. I think all you have to do is take all the scouting services, the ESPN rankings, and things of that nature, and typically all the top kids are playing on that EYBL circuit. So the level of competition is extremely difficult, but it's one that's going to improve your game. I think that I think Nike's doing it the right way because they too, it's not just about basketball. They're thinking about the wellness of the kids. So it's a so not only are you playing, but they're teaching you media skills. They're teaching you there are a lot of things that they offer throughout the the EYBL circuit. I'm not quite sure. Have you been to one of the stops?
I went. Was that Nike? I've been through New York. I think I went to Adidas and Under Armour in New York. I don't.
The-
I didn't go to. You know, I'm not going all the way down to Atlanta. But if the New Jersey Scholars and Team Final happen to meet up somewhere, man, I think I'm gonna have to make that trip and see that game right there, man.
I think the game itself, yes, but I just want you to see
The experience.
everything else provides for the kids. You know, in terms of the training situations and seminars that they set up,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually classroom settings that are there to help teach the kids. So it's totally different because obviously, you know, school is still in session during the first two stops.
Mm-hmm.
So Nike provides the opportunity for the kids to have on site, you know, areas for studying. You know, so it's just different. But as far as the level of competition, there's no comparison. I think the EYBL circuit is definitely the most competitive circuit out there.
So how you going to deal with it, Per? I'm sure you've already gotten a bunch of kids say, "Hey, I want to try out. I want to play. I want to be." How you going to make these determinations the old-fashioned way? Just put them in the gym, roll the ball out, and the best man wins, or you know, you are you recruiting? Like, how's it working? I mean, because it's a tall task, man.
It's a tall task. I think that again, it's about having a quality, you know, a quality organization, which we have. And I think, you know, we're going to communicate with the parents. You know, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You know, the shiny new toy and the sneakers and everything else that comes with having an EYBL Nike team. You know, that's fine and dandy, and the kids love that stuff. But my objective is to make sure that I communicate with the household. I want to communicate with the mom and the dad and have a plan for their child to be successful and show them, exactly everything that we're going to provide for their kid, not stuff just related to basketball. Again, our message, we're the New Jersey what? Scholars.
Scholars. Mm-hmm.
That's our message. So we come with the whole package, and I think that, especially in today's uh, environment, I think education now is extremely important, and I think parents are looking at it like that. And we're going to provide that atmosphere for their kid to be successful.
There's an element of the way you go about your business that I think some of the other guys who are involved could really take heed. Oftentimes when you get kids as talented as the kids that you have had, the tendency is to kind of, want to lock them in the house and not let them engage with a lot of other folk. There's a fear that you might lose control of the process and, the kid might, take flight and go somewhere else. But over the years, when I think back about, Malik Hines, I've taken Malik on college trips. I just come up there and grab him. We went to Villanova. I've taken your kid. We went to Rutgers, me, him, and Tracy. Me and Trey hung out a whole lot, and there was never this sense that I got from you like, hey, where's Dale taking you? What you doing? You shouldn't talk to this person. Nah, Dale, he can't go on that visit. Do you think that sense of security and what you're doing and knowing that the kid understands, what's best and allowing him to get all this information, come back to you and then figure out what they're going to do, does that willingness from you stem from the fact that, like you said at the start, you went through all this. You already lived your life. You was already the number one pick. You already played in the Final Four. You was already All-American. So you just want the kids to have their own experience and not live your life through their experience. Do you get a sense of what I'm trying to get at here?
I understand it's two ways to look at it, Dale. I think there are situations where you have coaches out there and so-called handlers that may not have the kid's best interests at hand. They may see a young man as an opportunity, cash out on or what have you. But I think that, I do believe that it takes a village to raise a young man or to raise a young woman, and I think that so it's definitely important that as the adult in the nation, the environment that you create for the kid, then I'm comfortable knowing that Dale is a responsible person. You know what I mean? That, like, don't get me wrong. When you say that, obviously you took, you were able to take my child. I'm just gonna say my child.
We rode up to see
on a trip.
Exactly. Him and Tracy was so in love with the boy, the left-handed boy, played for Gold State. They traded him, I think, to Minnesota. What was his name? He was at Ohio State. Left-handed kid, D'Angelo Russell.
D'Angelo Russell.
Oh, they love that kid. They was like, Dale, I said, all right, I could get that ticket. So I grabbed him and Tracy. We went up there. And, the times that I spent talking to Malik, I can go back. He was at Shube's event at Haverford. That's when I met him. I didn't know him. I knew he was your son. I could look at him and see he was your son. So he was at the 9th grade event at Haverford. And I had did talking about SAT and all that stuff. So I see him. I said, what's your name? And he said, Malik. I said, last name. He said, Ellison. I said, so Pervis is your dad, right? And I sent him home with a big old SAT book. I said, you know what? This is yours, man. Tell your dad I gave it to you. And, Perv, those kind of relationships, I just really think that the kids are better off when they can get the information from a variety of sources. Because Perv, I don't get on no court. I ain't rebounding. I ain't doing no drills. I don't care. I come to the game and watch. But that the basketball development piece is not my piece. And I defer to all you guys to really take time to understand what it takes to make these kids better. What I think they need to be able to do, in addition to what y'all do, is to be able to function and navigate with different sets of people, you know, to know, be able, what they used to call it, code switching. But, you know, you got to know how to act. You can be one way with me, but if somebody come in the room, I need you to, you know, act a little different. We need to be, and guys like Trayvon Reed, that was a hard message. To this day, I still argue with him about some of the things he does in front of people. But I love him to death, man. And those relationships are really, really profound, and they last a lifetime. Do you anticipate?
You're right.
I'm just convinced of it, man. And you know, you guys, y'all, Pastor Dave take those kids where Panama and the jungle and all that stuff for weeks. Doing those kind of experiences, man, just, you know, I don't worry about Tracy Carter. You know, I knew he'd be fine up at Hartford. I knew he'd be fine at LaSalle. I knew he struggled a little bit at Marquette, but that he learned from it right away. You make a mistake, you learn. I never worried about Malik, the way he going to conduct himself, carry himself, Malik Hines or Malik Ellison. You know, it's not an issue. Do you envision a situation where you want your guys to play for you 15 under, 16 under, and 17 under, and you want to build that way? Or do you anticipate that you'll be out basically hunting like everybody else on an annual basis? I've been with kids, I say, man, you know, that December, January, if you're a good high school player, man, that phone is, people have no idea how intense AAU grassroots recruiting is. It may be more intense than the college recruit, because ain't nobody watching the AAU guy, ain't no rules.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that we're going to do is, you know, I have a blueprint because I've been through the AAU situation before, and from a startup perspective with an EYBL team. And I think one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to add the 8th, 7th, 6th, 5, 4,
okay,
you know, age groups. Right. So we're going to have a feeder program. And I think, you know, that process is starting. We're actually going to, you know, get it, you know, talk to some other ball clubs and see if they're interested about coming under the umbrella that have age groups of that age. So I think it's definitely good to have your grassroots and have a feeder program. But like you said, the high school scenario, absolutely. You know, the recruiting aspect of it, you know, is just like being in college.
It's intense.
It's a competitive situation. But, you know, I think, again, if you have the right message, I think not only the kids, but their parents are going to be susceptible to listening and understanding that, oh, this organization, it has a roadmap. It has an idea. It understands what it takes for me to be successful as a student athlete. And again, that's what you are. You are a student athlete. So we're going to emphasize those things, and we're going to nurture and cultivate both aspects of it, academically as well as your basketball gifts.
Well, I don't think she'll mind, so I'll say it. I've had conversations with Monique where she would say to me, Dell, honestly, when my kid was 7th, 8th grade, Pervis used to tell me he was going to do this and he going to be this. And she said, I couldn't see it. I actually honestly couldn't see it, but I trusted Pervis. You know, he kept telling me he's going to get better and I'm going to see it and it's going to come. And, you know, I got to watch a couple of them games last year with her, and I was at the announcement when he committed to Kentucky. And so people that believe in the process, people that trust in what you're doing, I think they'll be really, really rewarded in the long haul, because I know for sure, even with your kids and your family and any kids that you've been really affiliated with, if you can go pro early like a Dion, go do it. But the goal at all times is to leverage these abilities that you have to access education while keeping those costs down, because the costs are substantial.
Absolutely. That absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the thing with Lance Ware family, his mom and his dad, the best part about that scenario is it was easy. It may not seem easy. It may not seem easy to you, Dale, but it was easy because there was a structure in the household. That
Mm-hmm.
that made it so easy for Lance to be successful. And Lance, that young man has a lot of drive. He's motivated. And so it was my whole job was easy because all I had to do was just lay out the groundwork, show him what he needed to do, and he was doing it. It's funny. I had a conversation with him the other day, and he's at Kentucky, but they're in the bubble, and he was talking about how things are harder, but they're the same in a sense that everything they're doing there, he did at the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give Rick Brunson credit.
Mm-hmm. There
Rick,
was a big
Rick.
jump between 11th and 12th grade. There was a big
Oh,
jump.
no question. And it wasn't just about his basketball. It was just him maturing as a young man. And I think the environment. That's why I'm big on environment. So he had not only the environment at home, but he also had that basketball environment with Rick Brunson. Rick runs a tight ship at Camden
Yes,
High
he
School.
does. Yes, he does.
And I think those kids are going to benefit from that. Lance is a young man that benefit from that. So it's all about, again, it's definitely about the environment that you create, and that's what we have created with the New Jersey Scholars is that environment. And that environment is going to emphasize academics. It's going to emphasize your character. And if you do those things, the basketball part that's like the easy part. It's going to take care of itself because if your talent, it's our job to help cultivate your talent and develop your talent. And that's going to happen. But, we're all about the whole wellness of a young man.
So talk about some of the guys that I think are participating in your program. I think is Boog participating in your program from Camden?
Yes. Yes,
Now,
yes. We have
here we
a
go
number of the
again.
Camden guys.
I look up and I know Boog. Boog came out. You remember y'all played my thing last year with Camden and all that. And Boog had a little extracurricular stuff after the game. I had to deal with all that. But I from that day forward, every time I've seen him, I've had a good conversation with Boog and his father. And I look up and was Texas A&M office this kid is coming
Texas A&M
in the
offered the
10th
young
grade.
man.
So
Right.
what does that say that a kid can play for Camden High School, not played a 10th grade game yet, and have an offer from SEC programs? Lance Ware can play at Camden High School and get a scholarship to Kentucky. I think what you're doing and what you have been doing really counters the narrative that's kind of taken over that you got to chase it. I mean, if you work hard, or you're just in a serious, like you say, Rick runs a tight, highly competitive program, you don't have to move halfway across the country and leave your family to accomplish your goals. Or am I just wrong and missing something here?
No. You're definitely not wrong in that. But there's not a Rick Brunson at every high school.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the coaches are teachers, just regular teachers. Not all. So it is different, and that situation is a unique situation. But I'm not saying no. I'm totally with you in terms of a kid doesn't have to go across the country to fulfill his dream. Basketball speaking, we're only talking about basketball, right? And I think that for you to be successful, I think that to achieve that ultimate success, even if you look at the guys now, you look at the guy, if you look at the Kyrie Irving, you look at the LeBron James, you look at the Kevin Durant, those are three of the premium Anthony Davis. That's the cream of the crop. Would you not agree?
Mm-hmm. And Luca.
Go right. Well, I'm just giving I'm just giving an example of
I can't leave Luca out of nothing after watching them playoffs, boy.
Correct, but I'm giving an example of American-based players in a
Yes.
sense that they didn't go nowhere. LeBron was he stayed in Ohio, Akron. He went to high school there. Kyrie Irving, he stayed in New Jersey. He went to St. Pat's. Right. Anthony Davis, the same thing. Kevin Durant, the same thing. So I'm in agreement with you that you don't have to leave. You definitely don't have to leave. Okay. But it has to be the situation where the environment is not only basketball, but it has an academic component with it. So yes, I do not agree that I do agree with you. You don't have to leave and go across the country and play and participate in basketball. You can stay in your home base if there's the right situation for it.
Well, over the years, you and I have had some conversations, and quite often, I must admit, I got to get you to start picking stocks, because early on you've been able to really pick and say, you told me Deion Waiters was a did I lose you?
I think I have
your video.
got a call. No, my call came in. Let me decline it to see if it goes bring us back.
All right.
There we go.
So you were able, when Deion was, I don't know, 15, 16, you like, yo, this kid got a chance to be a pro. You told me Lance Ware got a chance to be McDonald's level, go everywhere he want. And I couldn't see it at the time. As you look out on the current landscape, I know you follow Camden, and, you got a chance to see some of the high school guys. What are some of the young guys who jumps out at you right now as guys that really have a chance to, either play at Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky early as a freshman and maybe move on to the NBA after that? Did you get a chance, other than that Camden game, to watch Jalen Duren?
Yes, I got a chance to watch him play.
What's your impressions of that young fella?
Physically, there's nothing that he cannot do. Skill set wise, with all bigs, myself included, that's a process. That doesn't happen overnight. The low post game, although the NBA is now more of a 3-point line for bigs, but it still takes a big a little bit longer to develop basketball wise. So, but that young man's potential is unlimited. It's just a matter of hard work, and having the right environment so he could be successful. But I think there are a couple of young fellas that are in my program that I would say
Wagner
have absolutely DeJuan Wagner.
He's such a gentleman. I know the kid a little bit, but he really. At some point, you wonder, like, is this kid like this? Super respectful. Just really, I really, really am impressed with the way that kid is handling all that comes with being Milt's grandson and Wani's son. That's a lot of pressure. And to play in Camden and still somehow be level-headed, it's impressive. What do you see the next 3 years of high school for him looking like? Is he just going to separate himself?
Oh, no question. I think, the testament is his mom and dad. Let's start with that first. And I think, that quality of humility has been instilled in him.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a young man he's the number one ninth grader in America. Now he's the number one sophomore in America, ESPN ranking. But he's one of the hardest workers. So remember, we talked about that environment. So now he's got everything he needs in terms of home structure, high school coach, one of the top high school coaches in the country. That high school environment, basketball speaking, it's competitive, it's learning. So, the sky's the limit for that young man, because he has the desire to be the best. The media has already viewed him as the best. And I think that's going to continue. So I see no reason why. Is his class, um, I'm asking you because typically, Dale, you always know all the rules. Isn't his class is the first class that's eligible for straight to the pros, or is it the following year?
It seems like Adam Silver and them bouncing that around, and it seems like the NCAA is playing around with it, with the, letting the kids make some money too. For whatever reason, man, they just don't want to let it go. I think they like being able to make some money off these kids, man. A few years ago, I'll never forget, it was the kid was at Kansas and the boy was at Duke. The kid, Wiggins, and the one that was at Duke was from Chicago. What's his name? The forward, he was a real good player. Number 1, number 2 in the country. But it was Wiggins and what's this?
I know you're talking about.
He's been injured a couple times. He struggled.
Mm-hmm.
But when they sold that game, so I'm watching it. This is college sports, right? They sold that Wiggins and boy, I can't believe I can't remember this kid's name. But
I can't either.
That matchup like Pacquiao and Mayweather. And I mean, it wasn't nothing about Duke and Kansas. It wasn't. It was about Wiggins and the other kid. And then you watch what they did with Zion. That wasn't about Duke that year. It was Zion. Tune in. Watch Zion and buy this Chevy pickup. Drink this Ford. Drink this Budweiser. Go to Target. Buy this app. I mean, they really enjoy the opportunity to have these kids, even if it's for the 1 year, where they can just market, promote, and profit off of their labor. And then the kids,
Dale,
to some extent.
Dale, let me add to that. I want to add to that a point about something that our organization, the New Jersey Scholars, is also going to provide, which is extremely important that you hit on it. And I just want to make sure that, you start, when you're talking to young athletes, you tell them this is something that's a possibility for them. And that is, one of the things we did is we're partnering with a company that has their own platform, media platform. And one of the things, the new situation is because kids are going to opportunity money when they get to college, one of the things that we're going to provide is to build their platform, build their Q rating in high school so that when they get to college, they have 500,000 followers. And that way they will be able to maximize their ability to earn money in college, through endorsements and selling their likeness. So that's something that as an organization that we're doing as well.
And that is really cutting edge stuff. You start thinking about, Zion went into college with 2 million followers, Hogarth, for example, AJ Hogarth is out Michigan State, and his father and mother, they're friends of mine. His father's a really good friend of mine. And now it looks like Imani Bates might spend a season with Hogarth. And people question it, and they say, well, man, he might as well just go to Europe or he might go to Asia. If they change the rules, I'm telling you, I think that Imani Bates, as a Michigan kid with a national profile enrolling at a Michigan, or if he'd went to Michigan State, either one of those schools, I think he'd make more money in endorsements and image and likenesses playing college basketball than he could make in Australia or Japan or whatever like that. For certain.
Absolutely. But let's just not focus on the mega stars. I think, like I said, even if you have a scholarship and you're going to college, there's going to be opportunity for you to earn money while you're in school. But what it's going to take is for you to build your following, your Q rating. So
let's make it so,
like I said,
so people can really understand what you're saying. DJ Wagner is built in. If he wants to start, tweeting about, I'm going to be at Joe's Pizza at 8 o'clock, come, we're going to give out slices. Joe's Pizza is going to be overrun in Canada.
Exactly.
It's going to be overrun. But Brewer and Woodley don't have that same cachet yet, but they're D1 players. So those kind of kids are the kids you're talking about need to work on establishing their brand. That's what the kids call it these days.
Absolutely. And like I said, the company we're partnering with is called U42, and that's what they do. And that's something that I think all AAU, well, elite AAU organizations need to focus on, because like we talked about, those kids, when they get to college, they are going to have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's our responsibility, to help them while they're in high school to build their profile. So again, that's something that our program will be offering for kids. And because that's the future of college basketball now, especially for any recruits.
Do you think it really ultimately matters about the levels? You got kids like Dame Lillard, John Morant, Paul George, coming from San Diego. Paul George was San Diego State. That's kind of high major. But Weber State and Murray State are not, high major programs. Can a kid who has offers from Big Ten, SEC schools, do you think it's wise for them to seriously consider the A-10 offers, the MAC offers, and just find a situation where they could get on the court early in their career and start playing? Or do you think some of these kids are right in just going after the biggest, name, biggest league, biggest conference that's chasing them? How would you advise a kid to handle that aspect of the recruiting process?
Well, I'll tell you like this: the NBA is a $1 billion industry, correct?
Multi-billion.
So exactly. So they're going to find you.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about that. I don't care what school you at. They will
or
find
what country you in. Yep.
They will find you. So for a kid, you need to make sure that the school you select, you have that opportunity to showcase your basketball talent. Okay. That's the most important thing. And it doesn't matter if you're at Weber State, like you said, with Dame Dollar. That kid went to Weber State. Mm-hmm. And the last time I checked, he signed for $200 million.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So that doesn't matter. So again, they will find you. But I would say this. I think that a lot of times in the past, when I selected the University of Louisville, I'm be honest with you, it was because they were on television all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People may not know, but in the 80s, Louisville was basketball.
Yes, it was.
Supreme
Griffith
in
and all them boys, yes.
Right. That we had a stretch where we went to the Final Four 7 years of the decade. Mm-hmm. We went to the Final Four. And with 2 championships. So, but I chose Louisville because of the fact that I grew up watching them on television. And I think, so that tends to still happen. Kids, they see the Duke programs on TV. They see the University of Kentucky on television. And if they have that opportunity, they're gonna choose those schools. But that's only 12 rosters or 15 roster spots. That's how you have to look at it. And I think, now with Power 5 conferences, you look at all the conferences, you look at the different schools in the conferences. That doesn't matter when it comes time for that NBA team to select that player. They're not looking at the conferences. When you go to that combine and they bring all you guys together and you play, that's what they're looking at. That's the tape they're breaking down. Okay, so I think a kid can be successful. It doesn't matter which level he comes from.
How do you feel about the I guess we call it the surge in interest in HBCUs? We got prime time coaching football at Jackson State. Your man Kenny Blakeney down at Howard, he looking at the McDonald's All-American list and trying to get in these houses and trying to get these kids to commit to Howard. You went to Louisville. You from Savannah, Georgia. Unfortunately, we just lost one of your coaches, Coach Unseld. you know, and he
Mm-hmm.
kind of, him and Butch Beard, I guess they kind of paved the way for everything that you guys were able to do in the 80s at Louisville. So when you look at situations like that, when Butch and Wes decided to go to Louisville, man, they might have been the only two brothers on the campus at that time, you know, and the hostility that seems to be emerging in certain pockets across the country has a lot of people, especially parents of college kids and potential college student athletes, rethinking the formula and reconsidering, you know, places like Jackson State and Howard and Florida A&M and Delaware State.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the potential for the HBCUs to become more of a force in recruiting and in college basketball in general?
Dale, I can't hear you.
I lost
I
you.
don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to
I
answer
can
the
hear you.
question. Okay,
Yeah.
I was going to say
Right.
we're back. We're back. I would say, listen, it is definitely about the environment. Now, you would have to evaluate each program. Okay, if I'm a student athlete, I'm gonna evaluate each program, and I think that there's a young man right now who was a top 10 kid that's going to Howard
Committed, yes.
next year, committed.
And a kid transferred from Purdue to Howard.
Correct. And I think that you know, if you sit down as a parent, as a parent and a kid, and you sit down with that coach, and that coach is able to map out exactly what the plan is for you to be beneficial and how this is going to help provide you that opportunity to play at the next level. Because remember, the first thing we stated was that the NBA is going to find you. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what level you play at. If you have the talent, you will get the opportunity. Okay. Now, but the institution that you select, the college, university that you select, you know, that coach has to have an understanding of what it takes for you to be successful on the basketball court. So it's important to understand. I think one of the things that's going to benefit kids is if the NBA actually gets more involved at the high school level. And what I mean by that is showing them examples of this is what we expect our players to do, you know, on it. And so now they can take that model and go to a college and see, oh, you know what, this will help me learn and be able to do these things so I can make the next level, so I can play at that NBA level. So I just think it's just important that the family sits down and talks to whatever staff, university that they choose to select. But I do think that you can be successful going to a all black college and playing the NBA. You know, back in the day, that was the only option.
Yeah. Willis Reed, all of them, Earl Monroe, all of them, Bob Love, all of them.
That was the only option. The only thing that changed was the economics of the sport. So the NCAA saw that the revenue that this create, so we better get all this talent in the NCAA. So it doesn't matter where you go play, the NBA will find you.
So when you talk about the economics of the situation, you know, I'm sure you've been on some campuses recently, and, you know, I get to accompany kids every year and go see, you know, the pitches. What they're doing at the Big Ten, SEC, ACC level in terms of the commitment financially to the living conditions, you know, the eating conditions, you know, the nutrition, the table, the training table at some of these schools rivals, you know, 5-star restaurants, man, with the way they feed these kids. The living arrangements, you know, the condos with the pools and the jacuzzis. The kids come out of high school, and a lot of kids, you know, I think it's more middle class, upper class kids getting involved in basketball. But for the most part, a lot of them are still working class families and quite a few poor kids. They go to these places and you see this stuff, and it kind of just blows you away. I mean, it just becomes like, why would I go to Howard and play here in front of, you know, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people when I can go to, you know, Maryland, playing an NBA arena on campus, 18,000. Penn State, 16, 17,000 on campus, over and over again. Do you think there's anything that these schools can overcome the resource deficit that they face when they're out competing? I think Blakeney is a Duke guy. So he can, like you say, can prove to people that you understand winning and what winning is about. I'm sure, I haven't been to his office, but I'm sure he got some Duke pictures sitting behind his desk. So you get that message early on, hey, he's at Howard, but he's a Duke guy and a national champion. If you don't have that, if you're at Delaware State or Morgan State or Coppin State, how would you suggest that they could counter, the narrative that, they just, the poor schools and you need to go to the rich schools?
Well, I think you can't focus on the other schools. You can't focus on North Carolina. If you're Delaware State, you can't. That's a Penn State. You cannot do that. I think that your strength is what your school is all about. You're all black school. You're offering, that component in that
experience,
that culture, that experience.
Yes,
you're offering that. I think one of the things that's very interesting, a little sidetrack, is that when you talk about the landscape of basketball, especially in the NBA, how they're talking about now these coaches, how we only have like three African American coaches.
These Doc came back real quick. Yeah, it's bad, man.
And I think that something I heard Kenny Smith talk about the other night. He was talking about how you can you can work at Apple for 15 years, right? And you leave your job or whatever, but you put an application out to get another job. Do you know that you wouldn't be out there that long? You'd be the hot person. Everybody would be trying to hire you.
Yes.
But but in sports, especially in basketball, you can have a resume of playing 20 years, right? But you won't be considered as a genius in your sport from a management or a coaching perspective. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I think it just goes back to the fact that systemic racism and just the economics of, we've always been looked upon as entertainment or management, right? So I just think to tie this back to the HBCUs in a sense of everything that you're going to learn in terms of the culture, everything about you, I just think you stay that narrative when you're recruiting a guy now. I think now the parents themselves, the kids themselves, have educated themselves to know that I don't have to go to North Carolina. So I don't think the school has to change. So I'm getting back to your point where I don't think the school has to change. Be yourself, but you do have to have the ability to young man reach his goal, which is playing in the NBA. You do have to have that, right? But I don't think they should change their approach. I think we have changed our approach. The Black community, we have changed our approach in terms of how we view that situation now.
And the value we attach,
the circumstances that's going on now,
to peace of mind. If my kid is at Morehouse, I know he's gonna be okay at Morehouse. Where some of these other campuses, you can be a little bit concerned these days. You raised some very interesting points about the dynamics of the hiring process. I was on a Zoom call last week with Butch Beard, and one of the things he said,
that's my guy. Next time you talk to him, tell him Big P said what's happening.
He emphatically stated that not only had Louisville never had a black head coach, he insisted that they've never interviewed a black man for the head coaching position at Louisville, which I find like, wow, it's 2020, man. Like, never even interviewed. Then you look around, how do you explain the disparities where half of the Big East has black coaches? And then you go to some of these other conferences and there's just none. Like, why is it that some conferences like the Big East, and then for the most part, you're talking about private Catholic schools that don't play football, but, overwhelmingly white institutions, but they find a way to give people opportunities and to let their strengths show well enough for them to get a shot at a job. But at some of these, I'll just talk about some of the local schools. Villanova, no. St. Joe's, no. LaSalle finally went that way when they went Ashley. But Georgetown is on their third black coach.
Mm-hmm.
Princeton's had 2. How do you explain, is it just a lack of commitment at the institutional level, at the board, at the president? They just don't want, because the basketball coach at the schools we're talking about, unless you're talking about Big Ten football, SEC football, the basketball coach is the face of the university. It just absolutely at a school like any Big East school, the basketball coach is the guy. In the Big Ten, for them, unless it's Indiana, the football coach is going to be the guy. Do you think some of these people in the decision-making positions are just unwilling, not ready to really just place all of that on a black man in 2020?
Both. I think you have to look at the board members. And if we're not represented on the board members, then it's going to be hard to get that nod in terms of get that selection for a minority to coach that
interview,
particular sport.
to get the interview.
Right, even get the interview. But I think, like, speaking of the Big East, I think Dave Gaddis, I had the opportunity to know that gentleman.
Some people might not know who Mr. Gavitt is. He's the founding commissioner of the Big East, right? Former coach at Providence. Did he have Marvin and Ernie? Was that his team? Marvin.
You know what? I'm not sure. I think so, though. Mm-hmm. I think so, but I'm not sure. But what I do know is that he had an understanding of what we're talking about. He was a fair, honest man who believed in inclusion. Mm-hmm. And I think and he was at the top. He was the commissioner. So therefore, that's why you had that situation, that pipeline happening with the Big East, that underline. He laid the foundation, which all these coaches now were able to follow and come through and become coaches.
I mean,
so I just think
about those programs. Providence got a black coach now. St. John's has had black coach. Seton Hall has had a black coach. I mean, Georgetown has had a black coach. I think Butler has a black coach right now. Mm-hmm. It's just that explains it. If it from day one, if this is just a conference where we're going to value people's performance, work, and evaluate them in a fair manner, then you get a fair shot. But for some people, they use this word, and I'm sure you heard it, Perv. It's just not the right fit, they say. We got to get a good fit. Like, what the fuck is a fit? What does that mean? What are you talking about, man?
True. I think you're absolutely right. It's the good thing is that we're in a process of change, but it starts at the local level of government. That's why it is so important. I should be having, I'm on, we're doing a podcast now. I should have on a shirt because it's a visual that's got boat on it. That's got to be our message. That's got to be our message because we have to create that change. And I think, like we said, if you're not sitting at the table, how can you change anything? Mm-hmm. So we have to be able to sit at the table to start having change, especially start having, economic change in our community.
And if Primetime can get 4-5 of them top 100 dudes to show up in Jackson, Mississippi, I think we'll see the change we're looking for because they're going to understand. Because, Prime going to give you a good show. It's going to be fun to play for him. Mm-hmm. But if he can get some guys and they can actually win the SWAC and do some things and guys make it on to the NFL, then I think we'll be well on our way. The market has a way of determining, some things that individuals don't want to go along with. Well, look.
Well, I definitely think they're going to have about Deion. No question, he's going to have guys that are going to go on and play professionally. That's going to be how those high-level recruits are going to start evaluating him. I don't necessarily think, forget wins and losses, although I think he's going to have wins. I think he's going to be successful, right? But I think Coach Sanders is going to turn out a bunch of pros. Watch that. But go ahead.
And that will change things. Well, we're going to wind down here. What's Malik doing in terms of playing? What about the European market right now? Is it open? Is it closed? Are guys playing across the globe? What's going on? This year, your kid chose this year, the calendar just fell like the craziest year to try to get a career started in the history of basketball, man. How's he making out?
Right. He's good. He's good. It's tough. Like you said, there are a lot of situations that they've shut down in different countries in terms of offering contracts. He's had a couple offers, right? But his situation is that what he wants to do is just have an opportunity to use the first contract as a vehicle platform springboard, for him to highlight what he's capable of doing, so that he'll have an opportunity in the NBA. So I think, so he's just looking for waiting on the right situation. Like I said, he's had a couple offers, but he's waiting on the right situation and safe situation.
Yeah.
But he's doing good. I'm not sure. Do you know that Asia did about 40 SEC basketball games? She's on ESPN, right?
Your daughter is?
Did you know that? Yeah.
She covering the women? I don't want.
Yes.
Well, see, she's actually
going to do both. She actually did the All-Star. Yeah, she was with Doris Burke the whole All-Star weekend. Yeah, so you gonna.
Yeah, I gotta get in touch with her. I gotta get her on here and talk about that, man. That's good stuff.
You got to, yeah. You're gonna be seeing her. She's gonna be big time.
Well, let me tell you, on the Zoom that Butch Beard was on, Kara Lawson participates and Dawn Staley Dawn's there, and we do it twice a week. So we got to try to get Asia involved in that, man.
Yeah, you gotta get her involved in it. I will definitely. You know what I'll do, Dale? I'm gonna call you with her, and you guys need to set up something. But yeah, like Texas A&M, they have a hub. They got the hub for ESPN.
Okay.
You got there, then up in what's that? Bristol, Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
Right, but the other one is in Texas
So
A&M. That's why she chose. Yeah, that's why she chose to go there for grad school.
All right, so we're gonna wind down. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. My son is 6'7". He's 230 pounds. He can jump. He got straight A's. He going to the 9th grade. Why should he play for Scholars?
Because you said he's got straight A's. That's why he should play for the Scholars right there. Because you said he's got straight A's. No, I think, everything we talked about, our program, like I said, it's the embodiment of academics and basketball. And we're going to do both at a high level. We're going to demand and expect that of the young man. We're going to involve that young man in his community. We're going to be involved with the young man's household. We want to make sure that young man has every opportunity to be successful because we're doing what we're supposed to do as an organization. That's what the New Jersey Scholars are about. Well,
people, I hope y'all can get just a sense of the respect that I have for the way this guy conducts his basketball business. And I'm gonna give you a quick story just to illustrate what I'm talking about. I love his son. His son's a good kid. His son is at St. John's playing a lot. Always on the court. I'm watching the games, and I would just watch Malik just out there facilitating, looking off, not looking to attack, not being aggressive. And I would call Perv. I'd be like, yo, Malik playing. Perv, he won't even look at the rim. And Pervis's response was, Dell, you need to call him and tell him, man. I'm tired of telling him. Please call him and tell him to shoot the ball. And that's a true story. And I called him. I said, Malik, come on, man. He said, all right. But it wasn't until I guess he had to see the sand, falling out of the hourglasses last year. He said, hey, man, look, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it. And he just turned it all the way out. But he waited to the last year. Mm-hmm. What was that about with this kid, man?
Listen, everybody matures at different times.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Well, Malik Hines is doing well. Trayvon Reed is a professional basketball player. And that statement alone, and a college graduate. And a college graduate. Those two statements alone, if people don't know, and you don't know Trayvon, I'm telling y'all guys that with the work of Pastor Dave and Pervis Ellison, for that kid to be where he is right now, that's a real testament, my friend. I love you. I respect you. New Jersey scholars, how can they get in touch with you, Perv, if they want to find out what's going on?
Well, they can go to NewJerseyScholars.org website. You can Pervis Ellison, New Jersey, Pervis Ellison at scholars.org email. All the information is up. As a matter of fact, you can go on now in terms of different New Jersey hoops, all the different media outlets are going to be doing, having the press release out. So, but just go to the website and you'll see all the information.
Well, there you have it, people. We have a new entity representing the Mid-Atlantic region, the tri-state area on the EYBL circuit, led by none other than the legendary Pervis Ellison. I'm sorry that you had to, deal with Coach Unsell's death, man, but I think you're doing an outstanding job of carrying on his legacy, man. And I encourage all families with elite basketball players to really consider your program and to give it a hard look. Thanks, Perv.
Thanks, Dale. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, man. You have a good one.